Hey y'all, welcome back. So today we're really diving deep into the world of Proton. You've sent over a really fascinating mix of articles on Malaysia's national car, and honestly, I'm so curious. What sparked your interest in this company?
It really is a fascinating story. I think the thing that often surprises people is that Proton was never just about, building cars. It was about national identity. It was about industrialization, even a bit of like a David versus Goliath struggle, going up against these automotive giants of the world.
Okay, so we're talking about a lot more than just your average car company here. I'm definitely intrigued. Now, one name I kept seeing pop up in the articles was Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad. Something about his vision for Proton.
Yeah, so Mahathir, he imagined Proton as this catalyst, right, for a new era in Malaysia. He wanted to reduce their dependence on foreign vehicles and kind of at the same time kickstart this whole new industrial sector. And you have to remember, this is the early 1980s. Malaysia at the time, they had these thriving industries like, rubber, palm oil, but Mahathir saw heavy industries, something like car manufacturing, as really key to their future.
Wow, that's incredibly ambitious,
Yeah.
but also a huge undertaking. I mean, how do you even begin to build a car company from scratch, especially when you haven't really done it before?
It is a huge undertaking, and that's actually where the partnership with Mitsubishi Motors comes in. They needed that expertise, right? And Mitsubishi, well, they had it in spades. So back in 1985, when Proton was, just being born, they struck a deal with Mitsubishi for technology and design support.
Ah, the classic case of learning from the best. But wouldn't that be risky? I mean, wouldn't that risk Proton just becoming like a Mitsubishi clone?
It was a tightrope walk, for sure, a balance they had to strike. And yes, Mitsubishi provided those initial blueprints, especially in those early years. But the agreement stated that production that had to happen in Malaysia. So that meant Proton, they could build their brand, build that workforce and their manufacturing capacity, all while, at the same time benefiting from Mitsubishi's proven technology.
That makes a lot of sense. Gave him a really solid foundation to build on. And speaking of foundations, we have to talk about the Proton saga. This car seems to be like this recurring character, this legend almost, in everything I read about Proton.
As it should be. The Proton Saga, launched in '85, was Malaysia's first car. And yeah, the reception, it was phenomenal.
What made it so special? Was it just the novelty of it all, or was there something more to the saga's success?
It was a perfect storm of factors, really. Remember what we were talking about earlier, that affordability? Well, the Saga, with its starting price of just RM 17,000, was accessible to like a huge portion of the Malaysian population.
Wow, that's incredibly affordable, especially for, a brand new car.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you add in the reliability of its Japanese engineering, you sprinkle in that dash of national pride, and, well, you've got yourself a recipe for success.
And it wasn't just a local success story either, was it? I mean, one of these articles even mentioned the Saga breaking sales records when it was exported to the UK. That's massive for new brand, competing in a whole different market.
It really did put Proton on the map internationally. It was huge. And you're right, for a new brand, that early success, it gave them the confidence to expand. They started thinking about, different segments of the market, leading to models like the Proton Wira, a slightly larger car designed to appeal to, families, and of course the sporty Satria GTI for those looking for a little more, shall we say, excitement.
So they're thinking strategically, aiming for different types of drivers. That makes sense. But then Proton made a really interesting move, something that definitely caught my eye, I have to admit. In 1996, they bought a majority stake in Lotus, the British sports car maker. That's a bold move.
It really was a statement of intent. Remember Mathur's vision of, a self-reliant Malaysian car industry? Well, this wasn't just about building cars anymore. This was about mastering the art of automotive engineering, the design. They wanted to be the best.
And Lotus, with its reputation for like that nimble handling and performance, it was the perfect partner.
Exactly. And the impact on Proton's engineering and handling expertise was, well, it was significant. This wasn't just about a badge they could slap on their cars. This was about absorbing Lotus's DNA, elevating their own capabilities. It was a whole new level for them.
So Proton's on this roll, right? They've got the Saga, they're branching out with new models, they've even got Lotus on their side. Things are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But then in these articles, they mention a change in Proton's story. What happened?
Well, you see, the automotive world, it's a fickle beast. What wows the crowd one day might be old news the next. And Proton, they were about to learn that lesson the hard way. Competition, it's fierce.
So other car companies, they started catching up.
It's a bit more complicated than that. You see, remember Perota? Malaysia's second national car company.
Right, right. I think one of these articles mentioned them. They popped up sometime in the late 80s.
Yeah, 88 to be exact. And they partnered up with Daihatsu, the Japanese manufacturer. By the late 90s, early 2000s, they were putting out these super affordable, fuel-efficient cars, really appealed to, well, the average Malaysian buyer.
So Proton's got competition on their home turf. But it wasn't just Proto, was it? Some of these articles mentioned changing consumer preferences, too.
Absolutely. Think about it. All around the world, people were wanting different things from their cars. Fuel efficiency, that became a huge concern, as did, newer technologies, safety features, all that.
So it sounds like Proton's stuck in a bit of a time warp. They're still riding high on those early successes, but the market's shifted, and they haven't quite caught up.
A fair assessment.
Yeah.
And just to add to their troubles, the 2008 global financial crisis, that really hit the auto industry hard. Even the big players, they were struggling.
Oof, not a great time to be in the car business then. But there's this other thing, right? Even with all that going on, Proton manages to pull off something kind of incredible back in 2004, the Gen 2.
Ah, the Gen 2, that was a big moment for them. Their first indigenously designed car.
No more Mitsubishi blueprints.
Nope. This was Proton stepping out on their own, saying, hey, we can do this, we've got the chops. It was about showcasing their own engineering, their own design language.
That must have been a proud moment for them, their first truly Malaysian car.
Yeah.
How'd it do, though? Did it manage to turn things around? So the Gen 2, it was a statement, wasn't it? Showing off Proton's own design capabilities.
Oh, absolutely. It really was.
But it didn't quite make the splash they were hoping for, did it?
Well, it was a good car, don't get me wrong.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
But it was a tough market out there, and maybe more importantly, it didn't really fully address those shifting trends we talked about,
Right, yeah.
Fuel efficiency, the demand for newer technologies.
It all happened so fast, that shift.
It really did, yeah.
So where did that leave Proton? They tried going solo with the Gen 2, but the market, it was still tough.
Okay, so this is where the story, it takes another turn.
Oh.
A big one.
Okay, lay it on me.
Geely.
Geely, the Chinese automotive giant.
The one and only?
2017, right? That was a big year for Proton.
It was a game changer.
Yeah, all those articles, they highlight how big of a deal this partnership was.
And for good reason.
But I imagine it probably brought up some mixed feelings.
Oh,
what was the sentiment like generally when Geely stepped in?
I mean, it was complicated, right? You've got this major player, this global force in the automotive industry, and they're saying, hey, we're willing to invest in you, Proton. We see your potential. They were offering access to new technologies, potentially new markets.
So it's a lifeline, kind of.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it was.
Especially after the rough patch they'd been going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big, you got to remember the national pride tied up with Proton.
Right, of course, yeah.
This wasn't just business. This was Malaysia's car company.
Baby.
Exactly. And now a significant chunk, it's owned by a Chinese company.
Yeah.
There were anxieties about Proton losing its identity, becoming too reliant on Geely.
Sure.
Even worries about jobs.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So yeah, a lot of uncertainty, but also this glimmer of hope.
Hope that maybe, just maybe, Geely could be the boost that Proton needed.
Fingers crossed, right.
So did it work? Did they live up to the hype?
Well, I think it's safe to say that the partnership, it has been transformative.
Transformative, okay.
One of the most immediate changes you see is a shift towards SUVs.
Makes sense. I mean, everyone was clamoring for SUVs by then, right?
It was an SUV craze.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted that extra space, that go-anywhere feeling.
Right.
And Geely, well, they were more than ready.
They had the blueprints, the tech, everything.
Exactly. The timing was perfect.
Yeah.
And that brings us to, well, the Proton X70.
The X70 launched in 2018, if I'm remembering correctly.
You've been doing your homework.
Well, got to come prepared.
I like it.
It was a big deal. It was sleek. It had all the bells and whistles. And, of course, that handling by Lotus Touch.
They really knocked it out of the park with that one.
And people loved it, right?
Oh, they did. It was a sales hit. And what's really interesting is that it wasn't just, a Geely with a Proton badge slapped on it.
No.
No. The X70, it was based on Geely's Boy platform, sure. But Proton's engineers, they were right there in the thick of it, adapting it for Malaysian drivers, Malaysian roads.
So a real team effort.
Exactly. They tweaked the suspension, incorporated local design elements, even worked on the infotainment system to make it, perfect for the local market.
Wow. So it's really a blend then. Geely's tech, Proton's local expertise.
The best of both worlds.
And then, riding that wave of success, they launched the X50.
2020, yep. Another Geely platform, another win for Proton.
It's amazing to see how far they've come, all those ups and downs.
They've weathered some storms, that's for sure.
But they're still here. And they're not just surviving, they're innovating.
And now, with Geely by their side, they're jumping into the electric game.
The electric future. It's really wild to think about, where they started learning the ropes from Mitsubishi, then striking out with the Gen 2, and now this whole new chapter with Geely.
It's been quite the ride, and it really makes you wonder, what's next for them? Will they reclaim that top spot in Malaysia? Will they conquer the EV market? I, for one, am excited to see what they do.
Me too. What a story. From humble beginnings to, well, who knows what the future holds. It's been a real pleasure diving into the world of Proton with you today.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to all of you listening, we want to hear from you. What surprised you the most about Proton's journey? What do you think the future holds for them? Let us know. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.